I'd just like to welcome everybody onto today's podcast. My name's Deon Rebello, CEO of DCX Bullion. And I'm actually quite excited about the conversation we're about to have. And it's exciting to know that there are youngsters that are taking coins and numismatics to a whole different interest level. You know, if you'd asked me, and I'm going to introduce you to him now, what I was doing at 15 and what I liked, I always enjoyed collecting things like stamps and a few coins here and there. But the depth and level of information that this young man has is sincerely impressive. I'd like to welcome Joel Potgieter. And Joel, thanks for joining us. I really, really do appreciate your time. And yeah, how are you keeping?
Thanks, Deon. It's a pleasure to be part of this. I'm doing well.
In numismatics, and what sparked your passion for collecting coin?
Well, the very first time I got exposed to the idea that old coins have value, they're collectible, people look for them and collect them, was a small Cat in the Hat book that I pulled off the library shelf one day and just started reading about old coins and notes and the people who were actually collecting them. My one uncle had a collection of coins for a long time, and he used to let me look through them, and every time I visited, I was allowed to take a single coin back. When I was 7 years old, I bought my first numismatic coin, a silver 2.5-cent coin from 1961, just because I'd never heard of or seen a 2.5-cent coin before, not to mention such a small silver coin either.
Just out of interest, I mean, when I was very, very young, we actually had a 1/2-cent coin, and a 1/2-cent coin could buy us 4 chappies. And as a little boy, we were so excited to go to the shop with our 1/2 cent and buy 4 chappies. I mean, it was an absolute treat. And to think what even 50 cents or even R1's worth today, I don't even think you could get 1 chappie for that.
I don't think so, but well, maybe for R1 you can buy 1 or 2, maybe.
Maybe, yes. Do you know, as a young numismaticist, what challenges have you faced in building and expanding your coin collection, and how have you overcome them?
Biggest challenge that I face and most other collectors that I know is budget. There are so many great coins, great notes, great tokens, great whatever on the market at any given time. Many of them that haven't been on the market for a long time and that I need, or other collectors need to complete their set, but the funds are wanting. I personally overcame this to a degree when I started buying and selling coins online through BidOrBuy, now Bob Shop, and various other platforms. I know some of the dealers, the coin dealers, they've got excellent collections themselves, and they funded largely through buying and selling coins.
And you know, being part of the Gauteng Numismatic Society, you're absolutely right. And I mean, we had a meeting recently, and there were a whole lot of different notes and coins that were there for viewing, and some are for sale. And again, I think a lot of these type of coins, if you want a certain coin in your set, you would be prepared to pay a premium on it. And that's sometimes the advantage of holding a variety of coins, is someone will always be willing to buy it. You know, if you've got a willing buyer and a willing seller, you can buy and sell pretty much any coin.
Yes, the South African coin market is not quite at the level of, say, the American coin market or the British coin market yet. There they probably have, in America, they have more than 20,000 collectors that are part of the American Numismatic Association, and hundreds of thousands who aren't. In South Africa, there aren't nearly as many, but there are enough collectors that if you do want to sell a coin, and there are going to be people that are interested in it, pretty much regardless of what it is.
Tell me, just out of interest, South Africa has a very rich history of coinage. And which South African coins do you personally find most fascinating? And what are the stories or historical events that they represent?
My main series that I collect are the ZAR coins, or the Zuid-Afrikaanse Republic coins, the coins minted in the Transvaal before it fell to the British in the Second Anglo-Boer War. They were minted always in small quantities, and they were widely used, so finding them in higher grades is rare. And they've got stories attached to them. I mean, every coin has a story attached to them, but most of those stories have been lost. I mean, if you hold a 10-cent coin in your hand today, it has a story, but nobody knows what it is. But the first ZAR coins have a story that was recorded, that was remembered, and it goes as follows. In 1892, President Paul Kruger was campaigning for to be re-elected in the upcoming elections, and he ordered some coins from Berlin because they didn't have the facilities in South Africa, with his image on as a means of propaganda. Unfortunately, the coins had mistakes on them. In the coat of arms on the reverse, the standard traditional Transvaal ox wagon with a single shaft was now a European ox wagon with two shafts. And on the president's bust on the obverse were the letters OS, the artist's initials, which translate to ox in Afrikaans. It is reported that these coins nearly cost him the election, and he won by just under 1,000 votes.
That's phenomenal, and I think you talk of how coins actually have a position even within history, and it could have changed the course of history. And again, I think that's a very important part of the history behind coins. And I mean, that's a lovely story to think that a person's initials could be insulting to another person based on their language. So again, I think, those are the things but those then hold greater value again in numismatics and collecting, right?
They do, but for some strange reason, because there was such a big fuss made about them back in the day, everyone wanted to save one of these error coins, and the coins that were made in 1902 with the correct single shaft are actually much rarer for the gold coins. But 5 shillings are a bit more common, but the double shaft coins are not necessarily more valuable just because they're an error. They are more sought after, but they're not necessarily more valuable.
What advice would you give young individuals who may be interested in starting their own numismatics collections?
Learn what you like collecting, figure out what you like collecting, what appeals to you, and learn as much about that as possible. Knowledge is power in numismatics, more so than most other fields, or many other fields, because if you can see a bargain and snap it up, then you can make sometimes a lot of money out of it, or add a very rare coin to your collection that you might not otherwise have been able to get. In his name, he's a well-known collector in South Africa, but when he was not much older than me, he was able to make enough money from one batch of coins that he got, that he was able to buy his first car and still keep one of the coins. That's, if you know what you're doing, that's the kind of stuff that has happened before.
Well, that's amazing. And would there be any specific resources or strategies that you found to be successful or helpful?
In researching coins and researching my collection?
Yeah.
I use probably close to 10 different websites and have contact details for many experts in their fields, which helps a lot because I can't ever know everything. I have to go to other people, go to other resources and find out there. One website that I use quite often to research the more older and more difficult types of coins is Numista, which goal is to have every single type of coin cataloged on it, which you can search, filter. It's very useful, especially with the ancient coins where you're not sure what it is, if you know how to use it. So that's probably the biggest resource I use. Beyond that, books and catalogs are also very useful.
In the world of numismatics, there are various types of coins from ancient to modern. What area or period do you personally find the most intriguing, and why?
I'd say ancient coins because ancient coins represent almost 2,000 years of coinage. The late Byzantine coins are for some reason considered ancient, even though they're not, just because they're part of the Byzantine Empire, which is an ancient empire. But from 700 BC till 1400 AD, when the Byzantine Empire fell, ancient coins that's all ancient coins. And the history and the stories that are attached to these coins are remarkable. I mean, if you hold a coin with Julius Caesar's head on, that's just crazy, holding a 2,000-year-old piece of history in your hand.
Just on that point, and I know that from a former discussion, you personally are fortunate to be in a position of something of ancient coin value, or just give us the story behind it, the coin, and exactly what it means to you.
Pardon, which coin? I couldn't
Didn't
quite
you have a
hear.
Roman coin?
Oh, yes. I'd rather not talk about that now, as I'm not sure if it's genuine. I've sent it for verification, and I'm really hoping it is genuine, but I'm not sure. Some very deceptive fakes exist. Let's see. One of the most iconic designs of the ancient coins are the tetradrachmas of Alexander the Great, which has the head of Hercules on the bust of Hercules on the obverse, wearing the lion skin of the lion he killed in one of his 12 labors. However, many scholars believe that the face of Hercules is actually Alexander's face, which he put on the coin. So those coins are minted for a long time, long after he died, and many collectors specialize only in those coins. Other notable ancient coins are, for example, the tetradrachmans of Athens with the owl, and the first coins ever are the electrum, which is gold and silver, status of Lydia, which are minted around 700 BC.
That's phenomenal. And I mean, coin collecting often involves attending trade shows or interacting with other collectors. Can you share a memorable experience or an interesting encounter you've had while participating within the numismatics community?
Well, at the last Cape Town coin show, I saw exhibits there of coins that you read about them, you wonder if they still exist, you wonder if they ever existed, and there they are right there in front of you. It was a truly astounding event with so many great exhibits and leaders attending.
Being in the space, and to me there's exciting things about that, but just your own personal interest within bullion coins, are they important aspects of precious metals market in your mind? Have you started incorporating any bullion coins into your collection, and would you believe that they do have a role to play in the world of numismatics?
Bullion coins for me, I think, are probably one of the most convenient ways to own gold or own silver or bullion. I don't personally have bullion in my collection yet, and if I do, I'll probably look towards historic bullion, coins minted 100 years, 50 years ago, that are still so common that they're worth scrap, but they're more interesting for me in putting together than, say, a Krugerrand. Although the Krugerrands, especially the smaller gold coins, I'd love to collect as well.
And again, you talk on Krugerrands, and the exciting thing with that is, of course, you buy it at a certain price now, and the gold price has increased literally over the last 50 years. Gold has always continued to grow. There's a couple of decades where it's quite lateral in its movement, but it's always been moving, dipping up and down, upward, if that makes sense to you. So the value, even of a 10th ounce or quarter or half ounce, has massive value over the long term. And, my suggestion to you as a youngster is definitely always look where you can get your hands onto precious metals, onto bullion coins. Look to them. And as you say, the smaller denominations, if it's more convenient from a price perspective, those are the kind of things. And what you also did highlight is quite an interesting thing. is a lot of people where they deem a lot of those older coins to be of no value. There is value. A lot of those old coins have very high percentage of silver in them and so on. And again, there is a value there that will be carried forward as those metals grow in value. But also there's a historical value, and that's where the numismatic side of it comes into it.
That's completely correct. Many of the old American gold coins and the British sovereigns, so many hundreds of millions of them were made. They're so common today. They go for very small premiums above their gold, and many people invest in gold and silver only in those old coins, which are both numismatic and bullion at the same time. Sort of the best of both worlds, in my opinion.
And numismatics is a field that combines, as you've said, history, it's art, it's economics. How do you balance these different aspects when evaluating and appreciating a coin?
I'm not sure. If I see a coin, I'm just checking its condition, because condition is a key point in determining its value. It's one of the most important points. And overall appeal is very important. But the biggest thing is probably whether or not I have it in my collection already, and whether or not I'm collecting that coin.
Okay. And as a young numismaticist, what are your thoughts on the future of coin collecting? How do you see the hobby evolving, and what role do you hope to play in its development?
I haven't given much consideration to this. There's talk of coins and banknotes becoming obsolete and replaced by digital currency, but that is not. I would really dislike for that to happen if my vote means anything, because even now you can get in circulation valuable error coins, for example, and just holding those tiny pieces of art, it's so much nicer holding even a 10 cent with that stunning B on it than many other forms of art, which are far more expensive and just so much larger. And the banknotes are also stunning, but I think that for the foreseeable future, banknotes and coins will still be in circulation, at least in South Africa. And I think more and more people will find out about this wonderful world of numismatics, see what it has to offer as both an investment and a hobby. And hopefully I'll be there to help them and to guide them along their journey.
Just with regards to banknotes, and I mean, from one of the conversations we've had before, you've got a very interesting piece that also is that holds some historical or ancient value or mean. I mean, do you want to just expand on that and just tell the listeners about that and what it means to you and what it's all about?
Of that specific banknote, or just of banknotes in general?
You can let's start with banknotes in general, or we can go straight into that one also. I mean, I think it's quite exciting. I mean, I saw the picture and it's quite incredible. But yeah, give us some feedback on, give us. I'd like your thoughts on that banknote and what it means to you, and then also the history of it. I mean, if we go back to the formation of money. Notes come from originally from the East, and they were originally part of forms of exchange, and they then start to hold a value themselves that people then would use it to sell for other things. So yeah, give us your thoughts on that special note that you have, and then also just notes in general.
Okay, that note I have, and I suppose at this time in the actual video you'll show a picture of it, I'm guessing. It's a Japanese note from the age when the samurais and the ninjas was still, there were still many of them around. Basically, in the early 1700s or 1600s, the various governors or leaders of Japan each had the right to make their own paper money. This was, of course, upheld later after lots of problems, but this note is an example of one of those early notes. So, I love it because of the exquisite calligraphy and the detail, quite unlike modern notes. And I bought it at a bargain price, only 400, 500 Rand. My plan is to frame it and put it on my wall.
And it is beautiful. I mean, I'd love to see it in person sometime, but I really think you've got something that's interesting there, and it holds value, and it holds a piece of history. And I think for you, the age you are, learning about these things, you learn bits about the world and how things came together and how things changed. You speak of the challenges of where we are. We are definitely in a transitional period in the world. We are moving away from a lot of physical things. I mean, I believe probably within the next 30 years, we personally won't be driving vehicles. They'll all be driving us. And I do believe that, as we know, physical money and things like that will be probably become obsolete or become things of history. Because we are moving into those times. But again, they also present opportunities. And I think where you are right now and how you're going through the numismatics cycle of seeing what coins are even now, modern coins, there are opportunities where you can be buying them for close to next to nothing, but knowing that at some stage they will have a greater value later on. And again, I think it's also it's important that history was always carried through the millennia, through information, through stories. And again, it requires individuals, it requires people to have the information and knowledge to present those stories as the world evolves. So, as young as you are, there's definitely a pivotal role for you to play within numismatics. And I do believe that your passion drives it. And that for me is the most exciting part.
Thanks, Deon. Should I expand a bit on banknotes in general and how they?
Absolutely. So let's discuss about banknotes. Tell me exactly, your thoughts on banknotes and what their place is.
Well, to understand banknotes, you have to understand where they first came from and why they were first made. They were made in China about 900 years ago, 800 years ago. They were first made. And that was because the Chinese coin, the only Chinese coin at the time, the one cash coin, was a coin of very, very little value. You couldn't really buy much with it. You had to string it together. They were the coins of the horse through in long strings to trade with. But someone had the brilliant idea of just making a banknote stating that the bearer will be represented on demand with those coins, and whoever does not accept this banknote will be killed. That's pretty much what the emperors did back then. Since then, they have gotten a little bit more relaxed with the banknotes, and also they have moved away from the whoever will can present this banknote at a bank or at the Reserve Bank will get gold or silver. Now it's backed by the full faith and credibility of the government, whatever that means.
Yes, and there was a very important part of history where an American president by the name of Richard Nixon in 1971 chose to remove the dollar from the gold standard. And effectively, as you say, each banknote had a value of gold or silver in holding up to that point. And he was instrumental in changing modern monetary policy. From that point, as you see in the world, we see how money is literally now printed to infinity because there's nothing backing it. And of course, each government guarantees each banknote has a value. But we know, and we can see it with just how currencies are devaluating, inflation, all these kind of things allude to the lack of value behind those notes. And it's interesting. I mean, I love that story. I wish that it would apply today, where if you refuse the banknote, you will be killed. I mean, that is so especially Japanese, or in their thinking, because there was a level of honor, and to be dishonored was such a big thing, to the point that people would actually kill themselves, because it was rather greater to surrender your life than to be dishonored. And again, I mean, that just speaks of the culture. Is there anything that you'd like to just close with the audience as something for them to think about? Any youngsters out there that you could possibly give them advice on where to start? Like, if you got someone that is inspired by our discussion today, what would you say to them? Where would you start right now?
I'd probably just say, in numismatics, you can have your cake and eat it at the same time. You can have these crazy coins and have an investment at the same time. You can put money in a hobby and still get money out of it at the end of it. So it represents a very different, well, not very different compared to some others, but a very interesting hobby. It has been remarked that coins are footsteps on the sands of time, and each one dates from a different time, has a different era from which it's from, going back thousands of years. And that if you look into coins, you're going to find the stories around it are just so fascinating and just so incredible that you'll want to go further on, want to know more, want to research more. That's the passion that drives the collecting markets, in my opinion.
Joel, again, thanks for your time, and I think you've been an amazing guest on our channel, and I do look forward to the next time we chat. And yeah, thanks a million, and you take care, and God bless.
Thanks, Deon. Hope you have a good time as well. Or let me re-say that. Thanks, Deon. Hope it goes well with you as well.
Not a problem, and thanks a million.